Yo guys, what's going on? Ryan here and welcome to today's video. And what I'm going to speak about today, right, is three things, three kind of big mistakes that a lot of coaches and consultants are making, but a lot of the time they don't realize they're making these mistakes, right? And it just destroys your lead gen, right? It's going to minimize your revenue, but also it's going to basically limit your ability to scale, right? Because if you want to go from here to here, right, if you want to grow your business, literally, like you need to bring more people into your business, okay? In 99% of cases, obviously there's ways that you can generate more revenue from your existing audience, but like generally if you want to grow your business significantly, you have to bring more people into your business, okay? So, what I'm going to do in this video is basically run you through these three things that I see people messing up on all the time, okay? And if you fix these as quickly as you can have the best year that you've had yet. Okay. It's going to make it way easier for you to actually scale your business, right? So I'm going to try and go a little bit quicker today. I've been doing some long videos recently, so I'm going to try and make this one a little bit quicker. But if we just jump straight out, my sound screwed up yesterday for some reason, so I hope that doesn't happen today. Okay. But let's get straight into this. So the first thing, okay, the first thing that people do that completely screws up their offer is they have incorrect pricing. Incorrect pricing, okay? Now, the thing with this is like this is an indirect way of killing your business, okay? A lot of people don't really take this into account if they're struggling to grow, struggling to scale, struggling to generate leads. The first place they look is not pricing. The first place they look is like their ads, for example, like their cost per lead, or they might look at like the engagement on their content, right? These are all kind of like direct things that you can look at. But a lot of the time, this is like the underlying issue that is causing those other problems. So let me kind of explain this, right? I'm going to try and explain this in the best way I can. But the lower your price point, so let's just say $10. Let's just say in theory, you had a coaching program that was $10. Obviously, you would never do that. Okay. But let's say you did have a coaching program that was $10 and you want to make 5 grand a month, or let's say 10 grand a month. Okay. You're going to have to get 1,000 people into your program, all right, in order to make 10 grand a month. Okay. Which is, it's impossible at that price point. And here's why. Okay. Here's why. Now, you don't want to rely on organic traffic if you don't have to. You want to be able to run ads. You want to be able to acquire customers and clients profitably. Okay. However, if you had a product that was $10, it's probably going to cost you like upwards of $50 to even get someone to buy that $10 thing. Right? Like you're not ever in a million years going to run ads to a $10 product on its own and be profitable. It's never going to happen, right? It's not like you're going to run ads and you're going to be able to get customers for $2 to buy a $10 product. It's never going to happen, right? Like it's probably going to cost you $50 to make a sale, $100 or something crazy, okay? Now, let's go all the way to the other end of the spectrum. And let's say you have a program that is 100K, all right? Now, listen, maybe not everyone can sell a program that's 100 grand, right? Maybe that's not the easiest thing to do. But if we look at this purely from a client acquisition standpoint, okay, if you have a program that is great and is genuinely worth 100 grand, and you're going after people who can afford to buy a 100 grand program, it's going to be so easy for you to get clients for that program because you could spend $50,000 on ads, which you'd never need to. But you could spend $50,000 on ads to get one client and you'd still be doubling your money. You'd still be at 50% profit margin after spending 50 grand on ads to get one client. Okay. That would be so ridiculously simple. Okay. Now, obviously, most people don't have a program that expensive and most people don't have a program that cheap, I hope. Okay. So let's kind of look at this in terms of a more realistic range. All right. So I tend to see people charging anywhere from like $500. Sometimes I see people charging around there. All right. All the way up to, let's just say, 10,000, which is probably on the high end for a core offer. I know people have 20K, 30K masterminds and things like that, but just for a coaching program, 3-4 month, 6 month coaching program, 10K is sort of like what you'd consider the high end, right? Now, here's the thing. Let's just say your goal is to make $10,000 a month, right? Maybe it's 20, 30, whatever, okay? But let's just say your goal is $10,000 a month. So what you have to do now is you're going to have to get 20 people a month, okay, into this $500 coaching program, okay? Whereas over here, you're going to have to get one person per month, okay? Now let's look at this from a paid ads perspective, all right? So when it comes to the 10K program, okay, you could spend $2,000 in order to get someone in. You only need one client and you're still at a 5x return on ad spend, okay? So with a 10K program, like it's super, super easy to scale that kind of price point with paid traffic, right? It's so easy to get a client for $2,000. So easy, right? Let's say you're paying $100 a call. That's like 20 calls. If you can close 1 in 20 calls, you've hit your goal. Super easy. Whereas with a $500 program, it's going to be very, very difficult to really run any kind of paid traffic to that, okay? Because, you know, realistically, it's probably going to cost you, like to get a $500 client, it might cost you $300-400, okay? And then, you know, obviously you might have some other costs that you incurred. You might have team members, probably not if you're charging that, but you might have team members that you need to pay and things like that. What this is doing, like if you charge $500, this price point is just strangling your business. It's just suffocating your business, okay? And even if you charge, let's say like $1,500, I'm just going to get rid of this over here, okay? Let's say you charge $1,500. This is a more common one that I see, right? Like people who aren't quite comfortable charging high ticket, a lot of the time I see them charging like $1,500, somewhere around there, okay? But the problem is, like, if you want to get 1 or 2 clients a month, right? Let's say, you know, you're making 3, 4, 5, 6 grand a month. You can do that with this price point, because to get 2 or 3 clients a month, it's pretty easy organically, right? You don't even really need to spend any money. But let's say if your goal, I speak to a lot of people where their goal is like 20K a month, yeah? If your goal is 20K a month and you've got a $1,500 program, you're going to need somewhere in the region of 13 to 14 people each month, okay? Now, to get 13 to 14 clients into your program each month, you're going to want to run ads, okay? And for a $1,500 product, it's going to be kind of tricky because, you know, your CPA, it might be half of that, right? It might be $700 to acquire a client. Okay, so every time you bring a client on board, you're only left with $800. Once all of your other costs come in, you might be left with like a few $100 per client. Okay, so we've noticed in our business that there's kind of like a sweet spot where if you can charge, and anyone can do this, by the way, guys, I am yet to see a coach or a consultant that cannot do this. If you can charge at least 3,000. If you can charge at least 3,000, what we've typically found, okay, is that it's relatively easy to get at least a 4x return on ad spend at a $3,000 price point, all right? So that's basically, let's just say a $750. Obviously, it can vary a tiny bit, but let's say a $750 CPA. And if you can get that 4x return, you can scale up to that 20K, okay, and maintain a solid return on ad spend. Because the more you scale, the more you spend, what happens is your ad costs rise and your return on ad spend is going to come down, okay? So that's why it's so important to have a decent price point, 3K plus, so that you can maintain those margins. That allows you to spend more money to bring in more leads, which makes it easier to get clients, right? If you want to make 20 grand a month, you don't want to be bringing in like 5 leads a day, right? You want to be bringing in like 15, 20 leads a day. The only way that you're going to be able to do that is by charging a decent price point so that you can scale with paid ads. Okay. So I hope that makes sense because I've made a bit of a shit show of the whiteboard there. Okay. But that's the first place where people screw up, right? So let's get into the second one. Now, the second big mistake that I see people making, okay, is their content doesn't trigger emotion. Their content doesn't trigger emotion. Now, guys, it's so important, right, to understand the only reason anyone is ever going to buy anything from you, okay, is if you get them to feel like buying, right? They're not going to buy from you just because you put a good deal in front of them. They're not going to buy from you just because they have the money. You know, they're not going to buy from you just because because your program is worth the money, right? They're going to buy from you when you get them to feel like buying. Now, how do you get them to feel like buying? Well, it's very, very simple, right? There's only two reasons that people do anything, okay? The first one is to move away from pain, okay? To move away from pain. The second one is to pursue pleasure, okay? Terrible writing, but to pursue pleasure. So everything you do in your life is to either move away from pain or to move towards pleasure. Like down to like the smallest thing. You run out of milk, you go to the store and you buy some more milk. Why did you do that? Okay, well, because you don't want to be sitting there knowing that you can't have a cup of coffee, okay? And you want to experience the pleasure of pouring and drinking a cup of coffee. Like, obviously that's a stupid example, but like that just goes to show even the most seemingly insignificant things we do to avoid pain and to pursue pleasure, okay? Maybe something on a larger scale, like, you know, I go to the gym every single morning. Why do I go to the gym? Well, because I don't want to get fat. I don't want to be unhealthy. I don't want to have a heart attack. I don't want to die. And I want to be healthy and I want to feel good and I want to look good, right? It's everything we do is to pursue pleasure or to avoid pain, okay? So what a lot of people do in their content, right, is they think that because content is all about nurturing and building trust and establishing authority and stuff like that, they focus too much on value, okay? Now, obviously, guys, your content has to be valuable. Hopefully you're watching this right now and you're like, yeah, Ryan, this is valuable, what you're teaching me right now, okay? So your content does have to be valuable. You do have to convey value. But what a lot of people do is they forget about the emotional side of it and they start talking about how to, right? They do how to content. I've just realized I'm rocking that whiteboard, so it's probably screwing with the the picture. So hopefully that will steady up a little bit. They focus too much on how to content, right? How to do this, how to do that, how to create an email sequence, how to craft an offer, you know, how to conduct a sales call. Like, it's just teach. And what people do then, okay, is they watch it and they go, okay, thanks, bye. Right? And that's going to destroy your lead gen because people aren't going to come into your business and want to buy from you if you're just putting stuff in front of them that they can just go, yep, cheers, see ya. Do you understand what I'm saying, right? So here's what you want to do in order to kind of counteract this, right? You want to focus on the prospect's problems, or should I say, or goals or desires, okay? So let me just kind of explain what I mean here, right? I'm going to give you an example straight off the top of my head of like a piece of content which could be done wrong and a piece of content which could be done right, okay? So a piece of content that could be done wrong would be let's say if I made a video which was like, here's how to execute a sales call, right? And I walk through like a sales script, all right? That would be an example of doing content wrong and just teaching the how to, all right? But what I could do is I could take that same piece of content, right? But I could angle it differently and I could think, right, what problems do people have when it comes to sales, right? And I'd think about it and I'd be like, right, well, a big problem that people have is when they're on the call, they keep being told, let me think about it, right? And they're not making enough sales and enough money as they should be because the prospect always says, let me think about it. And that would be the focus of the content, okay? It would be like how to stop prospects from saying, let me think about it so that you can close more sales, right? And I would address the problem, okay? The actual script or the actual sales call structure or whatever, that's secondary, right? That's just extra. But what you really want to do is you want to address the problem, okay? I call it like, I've heard people say like, teach the what and the why, but not the how. Because the how, not only is the how for your paid stuff, but the how is the stuff that doesn't resonate on an emotional level whatsoever. Okay. Whereas the what and the why, okay, what do you need to do or what do you not need to do? And why do you need to do it or why do you not need to do it? That's the stuff that is going to get the prospect to be like, shit, I didn't realize this, right? Or like, now I get it. Now I understand. Okay. It's not going to be the how to stuff that gets people triggered on an emotional level. Okay. You can teach a bit of it. All right. I teach a bit of it, but you don't want all of your content to be how to. Otherwise, you're going to fall into this trap. Okay. That's the second thing that can destroy your lead gen, all right? Screwing up your content. So, last but not least, and this is a massive one, okay, that screws people up, and that is not knowing your numbers. Guys, I would probably say this might be like the number one thing, right? This might be the number one thing that just fucks people. Not knowing your numbers. So, not knowing exactly what numbers you need to hit based on your goal and not tracking them effectively so that you can actually see where you're at. Okay. And it all starts with the goal, guys, right? So, let me just kind of break this down. I speak to people all the time where I say, what's your goal like for your business? What revenue are you trying to hit? And they're like, well, I haven't really thought about that yet. I'm just getting started, which is the stupidest thing ever because it's like, you shouldn't even start without the end in mind. You shouldn't even start without the goal, right? It doesn't matter if you're on fucking day one business. Set your goal, like straight up, set your goal because the strategy is going to be based around the goal. So let's just say, for example, you want to make, let's say 100K a month, right? Obviously, that's quite a big goal. Maybe a lot of you guys watching this wouldn't really care to do that, okay? But let's say you want to make 100K a month. Well, now you have to identify what the hell do I need to do in order to actually hit that, all right? So first of all, what is your product price point? And I'm going to use some very, very easy numbers here just so that I don't have to do a lot of mental math, okay? But let's say, for example, you have a $5,000 program, okay? Well, now you know that you need 20 clients a month in order to hit 100 grand a month, okay? So you need 20 clients a month. Now what you need to identify, and this goes along with tracking your numbers, which I'm not going to talk about in this video because it's a little bit complex. But now you need to know your close rate, all right? How many calls do I need to take in order to close a client? So let's just say, for example, you have a 40% close rate. So you close 2 out of every 5 calls, okay? So I'm just going to put 40, don't want to go too low on the whiteboard. So 40% close rate, okay? Which is going to mean in order to get 20 clients, you're going to need 50 calls. So 50 calls a month. If you can book and take 50 calls a month, you will make 100 grand a month, right? I've made 100 grand a month with 2 different businesses, and I can actually tell you that it was around this kind of 50 call mark, right? Which typically gets you there. On our kind of 100K months, I've usually taken about 45 to maybe 55 calls, okay? So you're gonna have to take 50 calls. Now what you wanna do is reverse engineer, okay, so if I spent X amount on ads, how much can I pay for a call? So let's say, for example, in order to hit 100K month, you don't wanna spend more than 25 grand, okay? So let's just put 25K spend, okay? You don't want to spend more than 25 grand because that'll leave you with 75% profit margin. Once everything else comes out, you're going to be sitting well over 50% profit margin, okay? So if you can spend 25K on ads and you need to book 50 calls, that leaves you with a pretty freaking high number that you can actually spend on a call, right? That's going to mean you could technically spend $500 on a call, on a showed up call. Okay, it might be a little bit lower than that to account for no shows, but you could spend up to like $500 to get someone on a call. Now, a lot of people, if they spent $500 to get someone on a call, a lot of people would shit their pants and turn their ads off. But I can tell you right now, like, to get a qualified prospect onto our calendar to buy our programs, which are between 5 to 15 grand, I'd pay $500 any day of the week. As long as they're qualified and they're warm, I'll pay $500 because we're going to be spending a maximum of $1,500 to get someone into one of our programs, which I'm happy to do any day of the week. Okay, so basically, when we run ads, I mean, that isn't our KPI. Okay, typically my cost per call KPI that I aim for is like 250 and below. Okay, but when we run ads, like, as long as we know what our number is, okay, and then we track our numbers, it doesn't matter when you have this slight volatility, right? Or you're like, oh, I haven't booked as many calls as I usually do this week, right? It doesn't matter. You can just look at your numbers and it's like, right, well, our cost per call is below where it needs to be. So I know we're profitable. Ramp it up. Bring more leads in, okay? But if you don't know your numbers, what's going to happen is you might start to spend a tiny bit of money on ads. You're not perhaps booking as many calls as you thought you would, and then you're going to shit your pants and turn your ads off. Then your business isn't going to grow, okay? Massive, massive issue is not knowing your numbers, okay? So guys, if you want help with any of this stuff, especially that last one, okay, that is something that we're really, really big on, right? Tracking KPIs, making sure that you know all of your metrics that you should be aiming for in your business, something we are massive on, okay? So if you want our help, just hit the link either above if you're on Facebook. I don't even know where it is, okay? You can find it. I'm sure you're intelligent, right? Hit the link somewhere around this video. If you're on YouTube, link in the description. Make sure you subscribe and like the video as well. But you can go to predictableclients.com/call. Like I said, links around the video. And you can schedule a call with me personally where I'll dive into your business, figure out your goals. We can even break down these numbers together one-on-one, and we'll put together a plan to actually help you hit them as well, okay? And if you want our help with implementing that plan in your business, we can have a little chat about how we can help you crush it and help you make that happen, okay? So anyway, guys, once again, give it a like, give it a comment, make sure you subscribe, etc., etc. And I hope you have an amazing day. See you all soon. Take care.